Yeah. Oh, one light bulb's out. That's why. Good. Uh, Welcome back, man. We're live with another post game here on Bleacher Report. Lions win it. This is better. 24-9. Monday Night Football moved to 5-2 on the season. We got a lot of things to talk about. I tried to take notes as we were watching. That was hard to do that. It's hard to do that live, but we got some notes in here that we're still going to go through. Main takeaway though was the defense. I mean, that's where it stops. That's where it starts with this game. Lions came in. Both their safeties were out this game. Cornerback position was Amik Robertson. Rocky Sin actually played pretty darn well. I thought he was playing well until he got injured. Then Rocky Sin gets injured. They go to Nick Whiteside. Whiteside leads the team in pass breakups. He had 3 during the game, 2 on kind of the final stand defensively. He was fantastic. Arthur Mullet is what his last name is pronounced. I've been messing that up. That's cool though. Arthur Mullet got his snaps today. Last week he didn't really play that much. They kind of just sat in the base, and it didn't seem like they trusted him because he just got there. And this week, I thought coming in, Tampa Bay was going to take the approach of, hey, we're getting healthy at receiver. We have Evans, we have Igbuka. We're going to put a lot of receivers on the field, and we're going to make you match up with it. If you want to play linebackers, go for it. You're going to have a problem dealing with that. And it just felt like watching it live. The Lions answered that with saying, we'll put our Arthur Mollett on the field. And he ended up having one of the biggest plays of the game, the interception that he had near midfield, where he just took it from the offensive player. This was a game where it truly felt like coming in, you had to win the turnover battle. Like that was going to be the difference. And it typically does feel that way against Tampa Bay. You know, in the past, it typically feels like whoever wins that wins this game. And in this game, we weren't even clean offensively. We had a fumble in scoring position. We had an interception going into scoring position. But defensively, the concern was, where are we going to get turnovers when you take Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph off the field? Because that's usually where we get all our turnovers from. It's usually the safeties who create all the turnovers. And we were playing 2 backup safeties. Both backup safeties seemingly did well. Thomas Harper had some big plays as well. He only played 10 snaps last week, so we didn't know what he was going to bring. But in the 10 snaps he played well. Had a big pass breakup on 4th down. Played this game, played pretty well. And they were able to still create turnovers in this one without having their top 2 safeties, just by other guys making those stops. So we're gonna roll through it, but it does start with the defense. Kelvin Shepard did his thing. This reminded me so much of last year's win against Minnesota to win the NFC North, because we came into that game banged up at corner. If you remember, we were banged up everywhere. I don't even know if it was specifically corner. I think it was just everywhere we were hurt, because towards the end of the season, that was all the conversation, is like, yo, this defense is completely beat up. And we felt some of that in the playoffs. But in that game, to win the division, that was the whole conversation. And Aaron Glenn came out in that game. He said, we're going to get really aggressive. He went after Sam Darnold. Darnold missed some throws. And the Lions just took away everything offensively. Like, they made everything difficult for them, made them earn everything in that game. And then the very next week, LA Rams were like, hey, we're going to do the exact same thing. And then Vikings get bounced out of the playoffs, kind of looking the same way. Everybody's questioning Darnold. Now he's doing this thing with Seattle. But this felt very similar to that. Like, this whole year, this Buccaneers offense has been great. They've been great. I mean, all year they've been great. And they've been doing it with whoever the heck they put out there. They don't have their top running backs. They make it work. Their offensive line, the right side's not great. They've made it work. They don't have receivers. Now they do. You're thinking, oh, that's going to make them even better. And they scored 9 points. And they did it off of a big kick return that set them up. They really scored what felt like one legitimate drive in this game. They had a touchdown. And that was it. They did nothing else offensively. And I thought this was Kelvin Shepard's game, but it's cool to see him do that in game number 7, to have that kind of game already. And there was at least instances where they felt very aggressive defensively, which I did like. I thought that they definitely tapped into, we're going to wrinkle in some very aggressive looks defensively. Like, we're going to have our instances of the cover 0 defensively. We're going to bring everybody defensively at times, and we're going to make them find somebody to get open. And here was the weird thing coming in with Tampa Bay. And it was kind of the battle that I thought we were going to have to deal with was, okay, you don't want to give the big play. I think the mindset has to be no big explosives. We can't lose the game on that. We just have to stay in it, and our offense has to score a lot of points. I think that was, most people thought how the game was going to have to play out. We didn't even score that much offensively, but I thought that was the mindset. Yet when the game happened, the battle was Tampa Bay had issues consistently against teams that could just man them up one-on-one. It's just that for us, it was like, I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, typically you'd think, okay, we have Amik, we have Reed, we'll play that game and it'll work. But coming into this one, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do that, because we don't have those dudes. So I just thought they're going to play really soft. But yet, when they were aggressive and they seemingly put those guys on an island, everybody played well. It was just wild. Every corner played well. And I thought that their cover 3 version, which is, still one-on-ones on the outside, it was very safe in the sense that they didn't give up any verticals off of that. There was no big plays that came off of that. You didn't really feel like there was any shots downfield. The one shot was a pass interference that Mike Evans got the call for, where he didn't even catch it. I mean, it was out of bounds. Hopefully Mike Evans, okay, but that was it. That was their one shot play they had in this game. It felt like really in toward until the end of the game. So they weren't able to create any kind of verticals off of that look. Every time the Lions went two deep safeties, so like great things happened. They bracketed in well. Um, Tampa Bay didn't have. I don't want to say they didn't have. Tampa Bay was a very heavy corner route team. Right, they ran a lot of the sales stuff. They ran a lot of those flood routes. So they're going to attack the sidelines about 15 yards. That's where they're going to hit their windows. So coming in, you knew that was going to be the area. It's like, okay, how do we bracket that in? And they did it really well. I can't think of any completions they had between cornerback and safety. Usually the depth was good. Rocky Sin was playing it well. Safeties were on top. They didn't give up anything in those spots. Baker missed some throws. He missed a touchdown pass in the end zone, which again was kind of like what reminded me last year of when we played the Vikings, where it's like Sam Darnold was just missing some things as well. But it just felt like there was never a rhythm. He was 28 of 50 in this game. Having to throw it 50 times is crazy. We'll start there as well because that means the run defense was great. They averaged 3.4 yards a carry. Their top running back, I think, was 10 for 34. I'll pull that up, but they didn't run the ball at all. There was no success for them rushing the football in this game, which I think that's where coming into the game, the mindset was like, okay, well, we have to stop the run because we're getting Ali McNeil back. So we have to do that. And if there's a guy up front that can make this tough for them, it's going to be Ali McNeil because he hasn't been here. The right side of the O-line is kind of shaky. So they're going to have to just disrupt them things. Well, they didn't get any kind of run game going in this game. So that on top of not allowing explosives, it felt like it made them play kind of an intermediate passing game. And you could see that's just not seemingly who they were, at least in this week. They weren't a team that was comfortable living in that world of like, we have to play intermediate. We have to complete 15 yard passes constantly. They've had some of those, but it wasn't as consistent. And it felt like that's just watching it live. It felt like that's what the Lions took away. They said no vertical shots. Evan's not going to beat us deep. Some of it was corner. I mean, to play out a half, Amik Robertson gets hit in the back. That probably should have been a touchdown. Dude throws a shot. Amik's beat, throws it at Amik Robertson's back. It counts as a forced incompletion or a pass breakup. But I mean, he threw it right at the dude's back. Like, so that was just a miss. But even that being said, that was one of those cover three things where it was like, hey, that's your opportunity to get vertical, and they're not getting vertical. They're not creating their shots in those spots. So they weren't able to create their shots. They couldn't run the football. They had to live in the intermediate stuff. And K. Dotton, I don't even know if he caught a pass in this game. I got to pull that up because I thought K. Dotton was going to be a key in this one just because that is the deep corner route type of area. I don't think he did anything. I don't even know if he caught a pass in this game. I'll find that out in the background here. So yeah, defense was awesome. That was fantastic to see. That it's crazy. It's weird how that works out. You lose guys and your defense is like really good for some reason. I will say I'll also give credit because I know Dan did after the game to the positional coaches, which is great because usually we don't talk about those dudes. So Jim O'Neill, Deshea Townsend, right, safeties coach, defensive backs coach, gave love to those guys, but also just like their ability to find these dudes. I mean, Nick Whiteside during the preseason was fun. Like he had some good moments, some really bad there. Well, he stepped in. I mean, he was ready to go as soon as he stepped in. That looked good. Arthur Mollett, 2 weeks now, looked a lot better. Dan said that Trey Flowers mixed in a bit in this game. Eric Hallett's playing a ton in this game. He's playing all over the place for us. I don't even think we went to Kendall Fuller once in this game. I thought they did. I don't even think they did. So shout out to them for also finding those dudes because – again, this was like and we'll see how they address it, but the rumors have been like Lions are looking for an edge rusher, that kind of thing. And it's like, they probably should go get a corner. They don't really have any corners, but the reason they wouldn't go get a corner is because they're looking at it from, hey, Terrion's back at practice, which he returned to practice this week. We're going into a bye week. We're going to get healthy at corner. At some point, Reed's going to come back. We'll see what happens with Dorsey, but them not being aggressive to like, hey, we have to fix this. It's similar to what they did last year when they just kind of like were very patient with certain things. This is that one spot where it's like it's kind of weird that they're being so patient with corner. Well, if you're watching today, it's like, okay, I get it, because they found a way to make it work. They just made it happen. And it's I don't know who's to give most credit here for. I feel like Kelvin Shepherd, because you have your strength is now defensive line with everybody getting healthy there. And it's like you're able to lean on what you do really well, which is the backers and the D line. And the secondary plays really well. Like they just come along for that ride, and they play really well too. But they were tested a ton. I thought the backers were great. Campbell had a great pass breakup towards the end there. So we'll go to some of the situational stuff. But yeah, Tampa Bay didn't run the ball at all, which was great. They won that battle up front. Rashad White, 10 of 38. There was no explosives in the run game either for them. Teddy Bridgewater had. I don't remember him running the ball. I don't know where that came from. Okay, but he had a carry, so I guess that kind of throws out their stats too there. Anyways, I want to flip it to the other side. Lions offensively. Not very pretty, all right, but it was enough. I'm surprised it was enough a little bit here. Like I had 27-24, so they were in that ballpark scoring wise, but it was a big explosive for Jahmyr Gibbs was it kind of felt like the difference. And then they came out of half and they scored a touchdown. And that's something I feel like they've done pretty well this year is offensively. They've had a good feel of the game of like, okay, what do we need to try differently? Like earlier this season, even go back to Green Bay, week 1 of the season, they come out and they start, they start passing on first down like over and over, right? Like we've had some tweaks coming out of half that have worked, and it's just like, do we sustain it? I don't know, but at very least, we come out with usually some tweaks, usually on both sides of the ball, specifically on offense that gets us right. We came out of half after giving up a touchdown, felt like it was going to be a game. We responded with the touchdown, and that was kind of it. So that's kind of all we needed in this one. Bates missed a field goal, made a long field goal. We chose not to take a field goal, so I guess we could have had 30 points if he makes one. Then we also went for it on 4th and 2, so we left another 3 out there if we wanted it. We took the shot to Tesla. That felt like a let's get aggressive because we're expecting them to score points, and it just never happened. That was like a decision being made for a game that never actually played out. It was like, hey, they're gonna score a lot, so we got to get points on the board. I don't know. That's how I felt seeing that. And then, but again, Gibbs ran well, 136 yards, 8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. That's a crazy stat line. Most of it's the 78-yard run. Most of it, Montgomery really had no success. I don't think that's that crazy. I think that was a little bit more game plan. Not that you didn't want Monty to do well, but I think that was just where the strength is for Tampa. Like Tampa's so good on the inside, and it's because they have Vita Vea. Their interior is awesome. He's always a problem. It's just hard to run. This is one of the best run defenses in football, so it's hard to run against that guy. Their DBs are very strong in run support, so you know you're going to get that too. Their linebackers are smart, so anything that takes long to develop, it doesn't really connect. So I felt coming in a lot of the rushing was going to have to be outside. It was like, hey, you got to get outside. You got to make Levante David chase you, right? Make some of these slower backers chase you. And I think that showed up not only, in the run game, and even though the explosive run was an inside run, but also on the pass game. Like most of the explosives they had in the pass game were just, hey, we go underneath, and he does something with the ball in his hands. And it was Gibbs. Gibbs from jump. He caught like the first flat pass, juked out 2 dudes, and he takes off. And then that second half, we run like that little swing screen. I think we ran that twice to him. He takes that one to the 5-yard line. So schematically, it was kind of just an extension of the run game. It felt like it was kind of the same idea. Let's just get him out. And you can see when they run those plays. And again, that's something that's carried over from last year. That's not like a new strategy the Lions fed. They ran a lot of those concepts last year, but it's the ball's going there. Like there isn't really much to it. It's just like, hey, we're clearing out, we're throwing it to the running back. They've done that in the past. So it's nothing new. We've just kind of pulled it back out. We had like the little trick play that we did on 4th down. Again, very similar to what we did earlier this year. May have been the exact same thing we did. We gave it to St. Brown and St. optioned it out to, I don't even know who it was. We did basically the same thing and scored a touchdown on that earlier this year. Kind of got the yard. So that happened. And then passing the football, there's a lot of St. Brown still. I know he had that first drop kind of coming out there. We left some real passes out there. Goff didn't play his best at all. He had some real inaccuracies in this one, but St. led the way. This was, I think the biggest thing that I liked about what they did with St. is they isolated him one-on-one. They put him on the outside. Like we think of Saint as like, oh, he's a great slot, but his ability to just be like, hey, we can put 2 receivers on the field. If we put 2 tight ends, we just put him out wide. Now he's a wide receiver, and he just lines up with a wide corner. And I think that's the best matchup the Lions still have. Like I remember when they did it against the Chargers a couple of years ago, and it was like, oh, that really works because that's where they're weak. Well, in this one, Tampa doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses at corner. But your best strength to get open is going to be St. Brown. So it's like, how can I get him one-on-one? And I'd like to do that with the heavy stuff. They do the heavy stuff to go get St. one-on-one. You get him matched up with Jamel Dean. He's running these double moves. And again, Tampa Bay defensively, their disguises and the confusion I think they create is way more up front. Like you don't know who's blitzing. You don't know who's dropping into coverage. But the overall coverages that they play are pretty straightforward. They kind of run the same things over and over. So I don't know how many times we were caught off guard there. I feel like for the most part there, it's that we would have breakdowns. We had 4 sacks in this game. The interception, which I think Goff knew what they were in. He knew he was high-lowing it. He just threw an interception to Dean, which is the same pick Dean had last week, where you sat on a high-low and the quarterback went over top and he threw a pick. Dean just baited it again. He's a long corner. So they just fit the scheme well. Zion McCollum's super long. They all fit exactly what they're trying to do. So I don't think they're overly complex in terms of like, oh, you're going to be very confused at what kind of coverages they're throwing, especially if you're doing on early downs. I think more of the element is you just have to be sound and you have to find guys that can actually win. And that's the big challenge you get with Tampa Bay because they're really good. So now you're like, okay, well, where do I find matchups? And then on top of that, they got to deal with pressures coming from everywhere because their front 7 may be the most versatile in football. It's probably got a case for that. I mean, who else is dropping BNs into coverage like they do? Nelson's dropping out, Diaby's dropping out. Everybody drops into coverage. No, Reddick got banged up in this game, so I think they handled that well for the most part. Um, it wasn't the cleanest thing, but the couple of the sacks were ugly. But again, this is kind of how it's always looked against Tampa. Even when we beat Tampa, like we beat them, what, 31 points we scored in the playoffs. I mean, but it didn't feel like we were like, oh, we're scoring a lot. 20. We scored 20 points a couple of years ago at home. Like this is kind of the range you score against Tampa. They're very smart defensively. They're sound. You have to have guys that can go win, and we just left some points out there, which I think usually would be a problem, but the defense played so well that it kind of wasn't a problem, which is what made it so weird. I want to go through some of the notes here, go through some of the situational things here as we get to kind of the second part of this live stream. So let's jump to that. First off, again, give some love to Rocky Sin. Okay, this dude, he deserves it, man. I mean, you come in and you're like, okay, well, I think you can throw off like Buka a little bit with someone that's physical, so maybe Amik gets that matchup. But then if Amik's doing that, who's guarding Mike Evans? Well, you got to not give up the vertical shot. And Rocky Sin was here for it, dude. Like that dude just rose to the challenge immediately. He gave up the one big like over route coming out of half, which is the one that he got hurt on. Outside of that play, though, I mean, really throughout the first half, he didn't allow anything. He had a incomplete pass where he's forcing pass breakups, taking away the vertical shots. He's battling. He had the one DPI called against him, which I'll live with. I mean, that's the game you want to play. But his size is a weapon outside. Like we're seeing that, and he actually I think played a really good game for us in this game. So shout out to Rocky Sid. I think he rose to the challenge big time. Big tip passes, key tip passes defensively. I think Aleem had a key tip pass in this game. Derek Barnes had a key tip pass. I think Derek Barnes, he had one of the sacks in this game. I think he had the first sack in this game. He was the guy coming in we also noted as a key because of their tight end usage. It's like, all right, well, if you're going to stop the run, he's probably going to have to be a big part of that. I think he was, but also in coverage, like, okay, what's he going to bring there? And he had some big tip passes at the line. He felt like he was everywhere. So shout out to Barnes too. I think he was another key to this one. Obviously, like I said, we had the 4th and 2. We took the shot to Tesla one-on-one. It's kind of fun to just be like, hey, if they get the one-on-one, they'll actually throw it. It's kind of weird too. It's like, all right, we only need 2 yards. They're manned up. Why are we doing that? But probably should have been a better ball too. Probably should have given him a better shot at it. Like it didn't feel like we actually gave him a great opportunity to actually make that play. So, whatever. But Aleem ends up getting a huge tip out at the line of scrimmage on a 3rd down and 3, which got us off the field. So, okay, there was one in there. But again, the man coverage was strong. Arthur Mollett, who was in there, the communication was pretty darn good. I think they found some things late where they kind of like would stack receivers up and create some spacing that way. But you get rid of that in man coverage for a majority of the game. I think the Lions did a really good job. I think they did a much better job than I would have expected in this game. And maybe some of that's to why they played who they played, because they said, hey, we may be limited, but we still understand that when we play man, it's going to be the best strategy against these guys. And I think it played out as that being the case. Offensively, one of the wrinkles that I like the short motion stuff. I like that a lot because, again, their offense isn't, or their defense and coverage isn't always the most complex. It's just that they can hide it well because they're so flexible as a team. So it's a lot of times either you're going to get some form of cover 3, some form where it's like, I don't know who's blitzing, but it's probably some sort of shell of a cover 3. And then if they're going to rotate out, it's just Tampa 2, right? It's just who's going where, but you're probably having a corner drop to safety and you're going to have a safety, like drive down. So it's just who's moving where, you don't really know, but you're probably getting one of those 2 coverages. Well, I think the Lions did a good job with their short motions. I think the short little motions that they would have where receiver in the slot work out wide, that spacing that they were able to create, also get a tell of coverage. They were doing a lot of shifts and movements pre-snap to try to get an idea of what was coming. And I think they were pretty on top of it, but I would say that was really good for spacing. I think they opened up the sidelines a little bit, which is usually what we have a problem opening up against this team. And sometimes they just had good coverage too, but I think that was a nice little wrinkle to find that. It also set up the big screen play to Dave Montgomery. It was when they ran one of the short motions to create some spacing to get the ball to Monty and let him take off. So that was great. Now, had some breakdowns, had a 3rd and 5 sack. I think Monty ended up missing a block or not blocking anybody. That gave up a sack. We had a sack in plus territory where defensive back comes off the edge. That was, I think, right before half. Now we're backed up at midfield, right? You don't know who's coming on the blitz. So boom, now you're in a negative spot as well. Too many sacks. Coming into this one, it was, hey, what does Tampa do well defensively? Well, they sack teams on 1st down. Like that was it for me. And I was very fine with, hey, if you get 2 yards on 1st down, take it. You just can't go backwards. Because once you go backwards, now all of this, well, we don't know what they're doing. Now that becomes a problem. Now becomes a really big problem. To pull yourself out of a 2nd down and long is very difficult against Tampa. So you just have to avoid that situation. And ideally, you do it with the run, where it's like, let's just be positive. Let's pick up 3 or 4 yards. Not all of our runs are positive. We had some negatives in this game, so that threw things off too. But in the passing game, it's just like, hey, dude, just get on your hands and check it down to somewhere. And for this game, again, most of the explosives were just underneath. There wasn't really any shot completions down the field. But again, I don't think that's an issue necessarily, especially when you're throwing it on early downs as we are. It was just like, hey, dude, just get the ball out of your hands, get the ball out, let's move forward. And pass protection felt very strong early. I understand we gave up 4 sacks. A lot of it felt like the ball was being held on. It was either, hey, one, we don't know who the blitz is coming from, so guys unblocked, which isn't good protection, but it is not necessarily a loss. Or it's he's holding the ball just way too long in the pocket because nobody's opening up. I actually thought just one-on-one, like winning your battles, I actually thought protection was in a pretty good spot. And thank goodness for having Taylor Decker back, dude. You feel that. Like, this wasn't the best pass rushing front on the outside, but they handled it pretty well. I would say you felt a lot early in that game like he was going to have good time. Even on the fumble, it was like, oh, he had a good time at the pocket. It was like, oh, and it was going to open up, but he kind of got bumped off. He's running the crossing route, and then he ends up fumbling the football because of that. So we can't have that. But the protection was pretty solid. I was pretty happy with how the protection was. I have more of kind of the high-low, giving credit to the depth that we were playing with in those spots. Rocky Sin did a great job. He forced an incomplete pass on an out route where he kind of shoved the dude out of bounds. Dude couldn't get his foot in bounds. Rocky Sin was balling. Like, Rocky Sin was balling, dude. He was balling. Nick Whiteside came in. He was balling. He had the big 2-point conversion stop as well. 3 pass breakups. The dude was balling. That was a big time stop, too. It felt like the momentum always feels like it kind of halts when you get stopped on a 2-point conversion. It kind of felt like that. And then, of course, we popped, I think it was like an inside zone to Gibbs. And weirdly enough, I think the inside runs were very effective for it. Like, those were the big runs. I mean, the outside stuff was kind of the core, I think, of who you wanted to be in this game. But the inside runs behind Tate Ratledge, behind Penei Sewell, where he's kind of walling dudes down, that's where the explosives felt like they came from. Even when he punched the ball in the end zone for like 6 yards out, you're running right behind Penei Sewell. He's like dragging 2 dudes with him, and he's spinning off guys getting the end zone. Gibbs also ran the ball well. It wasn't just that we blocked well and that right side did well. Gibbs ran his tail off, and like, Gibbs was doing his thing, man. He's making guys miss. He's juking. This dude felt like he was back on the turf. This is the Gibbs that, we loved last year. That's what I felt like watching Jahmyr Gibbs. He looked fantastic in this game. This felt like the best Jahmyr Gibbs that we've seen so far. I think Dan was talking about feeling like he was close. This felt like the best Gibbs so far that we've seen this season, at least in my opinion. Containment. I don't remember if it was a third down or not. I think it was when Barnes got his sack. But coming into this one, I was like, you don't trade him like Lamar. That's crazy. However, it was, okay, maybe you do on third down. Like, the more I watched Tampa Bay, the more I was like, okay, on third down, that's a lot of times their answer is him just taking off and he's just making things happen. So if you get him into a third and medium plus, maybe you do treat him like Lamar. You bring a couple guys and you're like, hey, we're going to keep eyes on him. And I think this was like a 3rd and 5 they got the sack on, so it wasn't that long. But that was an instance of like, hey, we're going to have eyes on the quarterback. And there was instances of 3-man rush. I mean, let's give credit to that too. Baker Mayfield didn't have any success running the ball. It felt like he had none. Let me see what Baker's stats were. Did Baker even take off in this game? Baker had no rushing stats, so Baker never even took off. That's crazy. He had 4 sacks and never took off. I mean, take a step back for a second. I'm giving Kelvin Shepard all this love. I'm giving DB coaches. I should have did this. Casey Rogers. There's a very noticeable impact so far this season. I mean, we have a pretty good sample size now. I mean, even go back to the preseason, we were pretty good at this. But Baltimore the first time, it was like, how are we going to deal with it? And then we handled Lamar really well. And that's something that Kelvin Shepard specifically said they wanted to be better at because they haven't been good at that in years past. Baker Mayfield had no success rushing. Think about what beat us last time we lost to Baker. Gets out of the pocket, bam, makes Melvin Rodriguez miss first down. Did he run at all? And think about that. Now it's starting to come together. I'm glad we're kind of talking through this. Now I'm thinking about it. That's why I think the plan ultimately worked. You made them make it play an intermediate passing game. You didn't give up vertical shots to your guys handling that one-on-one. You made them win one-on-one, right? You shut down the run game, so then they have to live in that passing attack, quick passing or intermediate. I probably would have went more run pass option. I would have tried that a little bit more, but you trust your 3 DBs. They handled that. You had instances of aggression, which I loved. You had cover 0 instances that were effective, so I loved that wrinkle. Like we talked about during the week, they did that. But you also had the fact that you didn't let Baker take off. So there wasn't like a broken play element to them either, which was like, oh, the drive's still alive because of this. Like there was some like light throws that he had, but it didn't feel like he was really giving us that many problems. Maybe because the game felt like it was out of hand, but like when he would play would break down, he'd throw it. He didn't really feel like, oh, we're in trouble. He didn't really feel it as much. He didn't do it with his legs. And I think that was the key. He did a little bit with his arm, not really with his legs. And Man, it's just really good. It's just really good. Taking away, I don't know. It's just really good. Let's continue through some of these notes though, as we're about to wrap this up. James Williams gets called for the offensive pass interference. I loved it though. I did. Like I get the OPI. I'm very okay with that because that was a good read between him and Goff. That was Goff seeing the back shoulder, him throwing it out there, and you're watching like, oh, he's not going to see it, and then JMO sees it. That's good. That's really good growth, man. That's something that's very positive as we move forward. Very excited about that. Saint then we took that inside fade slot shot. That one was off his fingertips. So Goff had some misses. That was a drop by Saint. We had a low kind of over route that we threw to JMO, which was low. That one fell incomplete. So we left some things out there. We just weren't that clean. Defensively, Arthur Mollett. I think he was the guy that forced the fumble. I don't know for sure, so I could be wrong on this one. I just remember being mad. It was like, why are we? What is going on here? But immediately, I think that was our cover zero. We brought six. It may not have been cover zero, but we brought six. If we go the under route, we force a turnover immediately. It's crazy how we were just finding a way to take the ball away. We get the ball in offense, outside zone, sets up a third down. That's when we missed JMO. We had then missed the field goal. Defense gets back on the field, right? So quick turnaround. He forced turnover, no points. Defense gets back out there. And again, they force a turnover. Arthur Mollett picks it off. That's crazy. I'm talking about a dude that was not on the team that's doing this. Now, again, I liked him in Baltimore 2 years ago, all right? But, like, that was 2 years ago, and he's out there doing it. Arthur Mollett's going to stick around. These are the kind of things that can be valuable for you as well. Like, right now, it's like, okay, good. He's doing his thing now. He's helping us. But realistically, as the season goes along, and hopefully when guys get back and healthy, towards the end of the year when Arthur Mollett's your backup nickel, that's very valuable, to have that when you need it, like playoff time, right? So you already have the guy that's been in those spots and he's got a lot better. Now you trust him in more things defensively. That could be huge down the road that you had to play with those injuries and you had to have those guys in the game and have those guys handling business because they did. Again, Dean had that kind of cover two pick that they had. Amik got beat over top. He threw it at his back, so that was fine. False start call after they had the weird no fumble. I mean, it was weird. The no fumble call was goofy. Derek Barnes batted the pass line of scrimmage. Lions brought 6-man, batted that down at the line. So I loved that wrinkle. Again, that was something we specifically talked about. It was like, hey, I think you should do the wrinkle of Minnesota. That's why I brought up Minnesota specifically because I said that I think it would make some sense for the Lions to pull some from what they did against Minnesota, which was, hey, occasionally we're going to get very aggressive. Like, we're not going to let you just, beat us down the field. Like, we're going to get very aggressive. We're going to attack you. And they did. I didn't know that they would do it enough because I didn't know they would trust the personnel. They did, and it seemed to work all the time. So I love that. And then all of a sudden you get Whiteside in the game. Now, Whiteside got kind of pancaked on that screen touchdown, but then on the 2-point conversion, it's incomplete. He had to come back to a backside read. He jumps that incomplete. Awesome. So that was great. The pick play they took away kind of underneath on that slant route. So that was really good to set up the pass breakup in the back of the end zone. And then for the Lions offensively, that's when they came out offensively and they just seemingly simplified everything. It was, hey, we're going to hit that swing that gives us a big play. We're going to clear them out. But it was mainly outside of that. Run the football, underneath check downs, get into the flat. There's nothing really that fancy about any of it, right? Play action. Okay, we're going to go underneath. And the toss run popped. Like, that's what I thought would be effective. I thought it would be a Gibbs game because of that read. I thought he'd do outside runs, 15-yard toss, then the big play on the swing. And then you get behind Sewell, and he's just punching it into the end zone. A couple more notes here. Amik Robertson shut down the flat route on first down defensively. The first down defense was elite. I'm going to have to go through this and check. It's something that I'll do. The first down defense was crazy. Like, it just felt so good all game long. It was like, hey, first down offensively, you got to stay positive. But first down defense was so good. They felt like they were working behind the chains all game long. One, they couldn't run the football at all. But even when they passed it, it felt like everything was like, oh, that was 2 yards. That was 3 yards. It's pretty good. It was an incomplete pass. There was like seemingly no efficiency to what they were doing offensively at all in this game. They couldn't get to manageable spots. It felt like ever. And if Baker's not taking off a crate and anything, how are you going to get out of 3rd and long? It's like that was the game plan, and they executed that to perfection. I love on 3rd and 8 the deep curl they ran on Laporta because that one was too deep coverage, and it's been kind of their answer this year is like, hey, too deep, we're going to isolate him with the backer, and it worked. Really quickly before we get out of here, though, I do want to check on that. I want to see if we can quickly take a peek at first down defense. So first drive of the game, 5-yard run. First drive of the game, 5-yard run. Okay, we ended up getting off the field on that drive. Second drive of the game, false start, then an incomplete pass. That's fantastic. Third drive, which is another punt, first down, 2-yard run. So that's great. Next first down, 2-yard run. That's awesome. Next drive was a punt, incomplete pass on first down. Okay, that's pretty good. Next drive was a punt, first down. That's a 5-yard run. All right, and then incomplete, then a sack. So, I mean, shoot, you're getting sacks on that. Fumble, interception, and then you go to half after they kick that field goal. They come out of half on first down. They go 3-yard run, 7-yard run. Let's see, 1-yard run. Yeah, this is pretty good. 2-yard pass. Like there was not enough efficiency on first down for them. Next drive, 0-yard pass on first down. Drive after that on first down was 20 yards. That's when they finally hit that shot. They got Kate Otten in that kind of zone window towards the sideline. That was finally a shot they hit. Then an incomplete pass. Downs on the next drive. And then that was essentially it after that. Incomplete pass, 13-yard pass, incomplete pass, 3-yard pass, 2-yard pass. And this is a spot we're playing what felt like kind of softer 2-yard pass. There's no efficiency. There's no explosive on first down. There's nothing. So coaching staff, great. Casey Rogers continues to do his thing, or Kelvin Shepard, whoever you want to give credit to. Their effect is quarterbacks aren't taking off and running. They're just not happening, which is great. Doing a really good job, man. This is a heck of a win, 5-2. They needed it because the NFC North keeps winning. But now to go into bye week, perfect time. This should be good for the long-term health of the team to have some of these guys that have had to play. And then, we'll kind of see because now we're in trade deadline world. Because your buys right now, it's actually right now would be the time to make a trade if you're going to make one just to get them acclimated. So keep an eye on that. We'll talk about it throughout the week. But I'm going to leave it there. Appreciate y'all joining. Lions 5-2, 24-9 over Tampa Bay. And I'm out.